The beef literally just fell apart. It became one with the onion.
Now, I love onions, and if you love onions, you're gonna love this sauce, and it's literally incredible. Today we're making Ziti alla Genovese, and I know what you're thinking. This sauce is probably from Genoa, but actually it's from Naples. According to history, Genovese merchants came to Naples and they showed them how to slow cook onion sauces, and then eventually they connected it with the meat, and now we have this Ragù Genovese. This ragu is it's a very poor man's dish because it's a creative way to take onions, slow cook them with meat, and then create this beautiful, silky, luxurious sauce. Now, I love onions, and if you love onions, you're gonna love this sauce. I guarantee it. Now, the downside, it does take 3 to 4 hours. In order to develop that silky sauce, it takes time. Ultimately, the onions and the beef break down and they kind of come together, and it's perfection. There's a lot of recipes out there that add a lot of random ingredients into this, but traditionally it's all about the onions and the meat. And I'm going to prepare this in a way that allows the onions and the meat to shine without tampering that flavor. So let me show you what you're gonna need. Onions, a lot of onions. I have about 4 pounds of onions here. Carrots, celery, ziti, beef chuck. I have about 2 pounds of beef chuck. Lard. Now you're probably saying lard, why lard? Well, lard is very neutral. It has a very neutral flavor. And if you use olive oil, it's definitely gonna bring in some additional flavors into this. Not saying that it's bad, but I wanna stay neutral. I wanna let the onions and the beef shine, and lard is the best option. And you know what? If I was to bet my bottom dollar that originally this recipe used lard, because olive oil was for the rich and lard was for the poor. And this is a poor man's ragu. Bay leaves, pepper, salt, and white wine. And that's really it. Now, we have to start prepping the onions. We have a lot of onions, so let's do that. All right, so you're gonna need a mandolin. We have a lot of onions. This is the easiest way to finely slice these, and you really wanna get them really fine because that's gonna allow it to break down quicker, faster. And so definitely invest in a mandolin, and also be careful because the mandolin can be a little dangerous. When you get really close to the end, just stop and then you could chop it up with a knife. They do sell these mandolins with a guard, and you could use the guard if you want. A lot of onions here. When I used to work in a pizzeria, we used to sell this pizza bianca. It's a Sicilian pizza with onions. And we used to have to chop up 50 pounds of onions every other day. It's a lot of onions. If your eyes start burning, a little trick, you can stick your head in the freezer. It usually helps. I think my camera woman is crying. I think my neighbors are crying right now. They're gonna be crying for 4 hours smelling these onions cook. All right, so we got all of our onions finely chopped. We're gonna add them to a bowl. Get them all in there. All right, so we got these. What I'm gonna do with these is I'm gonna chop them up fine, and we're gonna use them for the initial soffritto with carrot and celery. All right, so you wanna get yourself a nice pot. I'm gonna turn this heat up, and we're gonna throw in some lard. All right, so once it's melted, we're gonna add in the meat. Gonna give this a little stir. So we're gonna allow this meat to pick up some color, which it already has. Now we're gonna add in the carrot, celery, and onion. Now a lot of people like to pull the meat out and then do this, and I guarantee you 500 years ago, they weren't pulling any meat out. We'll season this all up with a little salt and pepper. Give it a nice stir. All right, so now we're gonna add in some white wine, and we're gonna let the wine evaporate. All right, so pretty much all the wine evaporated in here. The carrots, celery, onion they're really soft. They release their juices in here. They're pretty much like melting in the pan right now. It's time to add in some bay leaves. I have fresh bay leaves. You could use dried if you want. And the onions. Just gotta load them up in there. These onions are really gonna take this ragu to the next level. Don't get nervous, they're gonna shrink down to nothing. So now we're gonna give this a little stir. Try to get these onions in there. So you really wanna get in there and stir this up. You're gonna need a strong spoon to kind of raise everything on the bottom up. Mix it all up nice. All right, so this looks perfect. We're just gonna season these onions up a little bit with a little bit of salt and a little pepper. I'm gonna give it one final stir, just to kind of stir the salt and pepper in. Now I don't want these onions to burn, so I'm gonna turn down the heat in a second. Looks perfect. All right, so now we're gonna cover this and we're gonna cook it on very low for about 3 to 4 hours. We didn't add any liquid to this, so while the onions are cooking, slowly cooking, they're gonna release their juices, they're gonna break apart. It's gonna create this really humid environment in the pot, and it's gonna make an awesome sauce. All right, so it's been about 4.5 hours. Let's take a look. This looks perfect, look at that. This is kind of what you want. The meat literally fell apart. The onions just became this silky, velvety sauce in here. The onions are the sauce. This looks amazing. It smells amazing. All right, so I'm gonna turn this off and I'm gonna set it aside. I got my pasta water boiling. Get ready for my ziti. We're gonna cook the pasta al dente, and then we're gonna bring it all together in a large frying pan. All right, so now we're gonna bring some of this ragu into this frying pan. And we're gonna put in some of this pasta water. All right, so our pasta is almost ready. We're gonna finish it off in the ragu. By finishing it off in the ragu, you can really guarantee that silky pasta. I'm gonna add a little more pasta water. All right, so this looks pretty good. The pasta's ready. This looks perfect. All right, so this came out perfect. Smells amazing. Look at that. All right, that. So traditionally, ziti's the pasta for this dish. And it's funny because when I went to the supermarket, there was literally only one brand of ziti. I think people forgot eating ziti. It smells amazing. All right, so we'll top this off with a little more ragu. Look at that. So this looks great. The beef literally just fell apart. It became one with the onion. Sauce is actually sweet. It's delicious. And you're definitely gonna wanna top this off with some Parmigiano. What's a meat sauce without some cheese? This will complement the sweetness very well. All right, so let's dig in. So good. It's so unexpected too because the sauce is sweet. The flavor, it's just beef and onion, sweet onions. It's crazy how cooking the onions for that long, the onions literally becomes the sauce. I mean, if you look in here, the meat is literally just like, it's just covered in that onion glaze and it's just delicious, delicious. Flavor-wise, all you taste is onion, beef. You don't taste carrot, you don't taste celery, wine, bay leaf, nothing, just onion and beef. And it's literally incredible. You definitely want to try this recipe. And if you do, Let me know how you like it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.